Good evening and welcome to the 2021 Town of Manteo Municipal Candidate Forum, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dare County. We have opted for a fully virtual forum this year in the interest of the health and well-being of our candidates and volunteers. I am Marion Midget, coordinator for this forum. I live on Roanoke Island outside of the town of Manteo. I'd like to thank the candidates as well as everyone in our audience for participating this evening. The League of Women Voters was founded 101 years ago by the leaders of the women's suffrage movement. Their goal was to educate newly enfranchised women who had finally won the right to vote after a 70+ year fight. We are proud to continue their tradition of bringing candidates and voters together in this way. We are recording tonight's meeting so that more Town of Manteo voters can see and hear their candidates before they vote. This recording will be posted on our YouTube page, our website, and on Current TV Spectrum 191, the government channel is what we were calling it. And now I will introduce the moderator for this evening, Amanda Hooper.
Hi, thank you so much, Marion. Good evening, everyone. I'm a member of League of Women Voters of Dare, and I live in Collington. The League is a nonprofit, nonpartisan political organization. It encourages informed and active participation in all levels of government. It works to increase understanding of major public policy issues and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League maintains a strict nonpartisan policy. It neither endorses nor opposes any political party or candidate. The League participates in the Positive Campaign Project and has requested that each candidate take the Code of Campaign Ethics pledge. Our League volunteers participating this evening are our technical team, comprised of League members Craig Merrill and Laura Singletary. Our question reviewer will be Mary Jane Solinsky, and our timekeeper will be Lorelei DiBenirdo. Let me tell you about the candidates with us tonight. The town of Manteo has the mayoral seat and 3 commissioner seats up for election. There is 1 mayoral candidate and 4 commissioner candidates. All candidates are present tonight. Bobby Owens is running unopposed, but will participate tonight in the opening and closing statements. Candidates for the commissioner race are Sherry Butcher Wickstrom, challenger, Eddie Mann, incumbent, Ruth Jane Stetson, challenger, Christine E. Walker, incumbent. Let's review the format for the forum. All candidates will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. The timekeeper will signal when the candidate has 30 seconds remaining. The timekeeper will signal with a stop sign when time has expired. Next, opposed candidates will participate in the question and answer segment, answering questions that voters submitted during the forum registration process. Questions may be submitted tonight using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Please be sure to include your name and town. Anonymous questions will not be asked. League reviewers have and will review questions for clarity, to avoid duplication or personal attacks. These questions may be addressed to one candidate or all candidates. However, all candidates will have an opportunity to respond to any questions submitted. Unopposed candidates will sit out the Q&A segment unless they wish to respond to any question. 2 minutes are allotted for all responses. Again, the timer will signal the candidate when 30 seconds remains and display the stop sign when time has expired. Opportunities will not be extended to those who initially pass on a question. Finally, each candidate is entitled to a 2-minute closing statement. Before we started, we created a random order for opening statements. We will reverse that order for closing statements. We will begin the opening statement from Bobby Owens.
Good evening. My name is Bobby Owens, and I'm probably one of the oldest politicians in Dare County. I want to say welcome tonight. And first, I'm going to start out and say I'm very, very proud to be Manteo's mayor. It's quite an honor. I've been on many boards, many positions all over the state of North Carolina, but this is the greatest honor I've ever achieved by being born and raised here. I love Manteo. I hope the people that's moving here love it as much as I do. I'm certainly glad they're here. We welcome them. We welcome their affluency. We welcome their intelligence. We want them to be active in Manteo and be a part of. Join us, because we're all one. My goal has always been, I always had a goal when I run for mayor. I don't know why I ran, but I got talked into it. This is going on my third term. And I'd like to say that I don't want to change Manteo, as it's been alluded to by many people. I was supposed to be the bad guy, and the big giant is going to change Manteo to high rises and garages and everything else. So far, that hasn't happened, and it won't happen. I have a saying that I've coined through my 2 terms. I just want to make Manteo better, not bigger. And together we can do that. I went through town today and I looked at the new parking lot. It was full. Here it is, October the 4th. I remember the day after Labor Day, there weren't a soul in Manteo. You could ride to Manteo at 3 o'clock, not be a soul there. All white hair, bald heads, older people, everybody enjoying Manteo as I want everybody else to do. We can't keep people out. We've got to invite them in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bobby. Next, we will hear from Christine Walker.
Hi, everyone. I'd just like to give a little background just on myself for those who don't know who I am. I'm Christine Etheridge Walker. I'm a lifelong resident of downtown Manteo. Graduated from Manteo High School, attended Peace College in Raleigh, graduated from East Carolina with a degree in sociology in 1991. Went on to work for the state at the Wanchee Seafood Industrial Park for 24 years. And I retired from there in 2018. So I am a retiree. I do work part-time over at the Outlet Mall at the Loft with a great group of ladies, meet people from all over and love talking to them about our little town and our little piece of paradise here. So I have to say I'm with Mayor Owens. I don't want to change Manteo. I want to make it better. I had the best childhood growing up here in town. And I hope that someday my kids can say the same thing. I don't think they will. I think they had a different childhood than I did. But, you know, I roamed the streets growing up, and my father was a commissioner. I grew up on town politics. I was on the Board of Adjustments. Then I was on the Planning and Zoning Board for maybe 6 years or so. And I've been a commissioner now for 13 years. So I just I'm proud of my commitment to public service, and just like to you know, keep that up and do what I can for all the town citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine. Next, we will hear from Eddie Mann.
Thank you. My name is Eddie Mann. I am a current Manteo commissioner. This is my first term as Manteo commissioner, and I look forward to serving you again. A little bit about myself. I've been a homeowner of the town of Manteo since the age of 19. I've married and had kids in the town of Manteo. That's my 2 most proud accomplishments, other than being on the town board, is being married to a beautiful wife and having 2 beautiful sons that I'm raising here in Manteo. I've been involved in local government since the age of 19. I've served for local government. I've worked as a police officer since the age of 20. I currently work for the state of North Carolina as a law enforcement officer. I've served on several boards. I've served on the Room of the Inn board. I've been the Roanoke Island representative for the Dare County Zoning Board of Adjustments. I'm currently on the current TV and Gov Ed board as the Manteo representative, past president of the Dare County Shrine Club, past master of the Manteo 521 Masonic Lodge. Some accomplishments that I'm proud of that we have accomplished in the past 4 years, not just me, but the town as a whole and the board as a whole. Under the direction of the mayor, there's now a parking and park area where there wasn't. That's helped town and business greatly. I'm proud to have been a part of that in the past 4 years. There's currently engineered survey going on of the town sewer and utilities. And I hope to continue that work in the future. I believe in government transparency and accountability. In the past 4 years, we've had a pretty hard fight as town residents to get the board meetings televised, and we have done that. So I think the past 4 years we've accomplished a lot, and I look forward to working for the town residents and hope to accomplish more for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Next, we will hear from Sherry Butcher Wickstrom.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Sherry Butcher Wickstrom, and I am enthusiastically running for Manteo Board of Commissioners. Manteo is a charming historic town like no other, and this is really an exciting time with so many opportunities before us to plan for a solid future, to enhance our economic vitality, and to honor our historic past. And celebrate our community. I have deep roots in North Carolina. My parents first brought me to the Outer Banks when I was 2, and that was a while ago. It was Manteo where I wanted to live. And once I moved here, I jumped right in. So I currently serve as the chair of the Planning and Zoning Board. I am chair of the Plan Update Working Group, which is the 20-year planning group. I'm chair of the Preservation and Architectural Review Committee, and I loved serving on the Town Common Advisory Committee to get that fabulous town common that we've got. I believe local government is really where the rubber meets the road, and done well can enhance the lives of residents. My experience in local government includes serving for nearly 20 years as a city council member in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, before moving to Manteo. This experience taught me the importance of showing up, being involved, and planning for a future that captures what is important to the community. I'm running for town commissioner because there is much to accomplish, from the completion of the town's comprehensive plan to Manteo becoming a Main Street America town. But we also have challenges that we need to delve into, such as how do we develop our remaining land? What about housing? What about that traffic? And of course, how do we protect our natural resources? I've learned a lot, and I would love to have the opportunity to serve our community.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Next, we will hear from Ruth Jane Stetson.
For that, guys, I had some dogs barking, so it's muted. My name is Ruth Jane Stetson. I grew up in Manteo. I also grew up in a household with very colorful political conversations. I've always kind of known what's going on around here, whether or not I wanted to, and it definitely has always piqued my interest to some degree. So like a lot of the fellow candidates here, I decided that instead of just talking about it with other community members, I should give it a chance and see if I could do some good from the inside. So I've had an interesting career. I think I come with kind of a different perspective than everybody else. I work great on a team and thrive in a collaborative environment. I traveled for about 7 years with an events entertainment industry career where I served on the advisory board for events as large as 100,000 people. There are STEM events. A lot of what I would like to see happen here is an increase in some of our events that are really aimed at our community and growing that community tapestry and weaving us back together, like what I heard about growing up and like what I experienced growing up, similar to Christine. And I definitely care a lot about the land that's left here and affordable housing. I'm an avid studier. I like to be prepared for everything. So in my journey preparing for this, I realized that we really, we're called to, by our previous elected officials, to put this affordable housing in place. And I think that it's asked of by all of our citizens. So we definitely need to really look at that. I also come with a really strong tech background and a connection to the center of the state. So I'm hoping to develop a tech innovation committee that will then branch out into an app development for our town that hopefully will alleviate some of the taxpayer burden and maybe begin to be a revenue channel for our little town, while not overgrowing the area and allowing us to kind of thrive at our current capacity. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Now we will have questions submitted from voters. Our first question is a league question. If you are a challenger, please describe why you are running. If you are an incumbent, please describe why you feel you should be reelected. We will begin with Christine.
I feel I should be reelected because I, like I said, I have a commitment to public service. I have been in service to the town for, wow, probably at least 20 years with the planning, between the Planning and Zoning Board and the Board of Commissioners. And I have the best interest of the citizens in mind. Again, when we talk about affordable housing, which I know is going to be a hot topic, I'm a working class. I may be retired. My husband works for the county. We have 2 teenagers. We were gifted property that we built on. I know what affordable is, and I know what affordable isn't. And I am in touch with the working class, and that's who I speak for. And, you know, sometimes it seems like the ones that come out to meetings and things, you know, that's who we tend to, you know, listen to. But we also need to listen to the, you know, the residents that are not coming out, that do not want, you know, to be on record or in front of a camera. We need to also, you know, keep them in mind. And so, you know, that's why I'm here. I'm here to leave a better future for my children and for those that, you know, that call Manteo home.
Thank you, Christine. Next, we will hear from Eddie.
Thank you. I'm currently running for re-election, and I believe I hope to be reelected. In the past 4 years, I believe we've got a lot accomplished with parking and surveys and engineer surveys for utility services, veteran parking areas, helping the police department as far as creating a police advisory board, getting their pay up a little bit. And to be honest with you, I wish I would have accomplished, or I say I would have, that the town would have accomplished a lot more in those past 4 years. But I now realize that government turns a little bit slower than I expected. So in the next 4 years, I hope to accomplish, along with the board, to have those utility lines that are being surveyed updated, the ones that need updating, so we have cleaner drinking water, better flow of wastewater to the treatment plant. We have some environmental issues that we need to look at as far as where our water drains off to, how we can get that water out as quickly as possible and as clean as possible. I believe there's some areas we can do to help clean up Shallowbag Bay a little bit, as far as creating some environmental resource in the bay to help clean the area as far as nitrogens and other chemicals that I believe we can do with grant funding. I hope to do that start that within the next 4 years. Continue with government transparency and government accountability, and listening to the people of Manteo. Our job really is just to be a conduit for ideas for the people of Manteo, and I make myself available to everybody in Manteo, and I hope they call me with any ideas that I can push forward and hope to accomplish for them.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Last, we will hear from Ruth.
Hi, yes. So I'm running because, again, I think I have a fresh perspective. I also do talk to a lot of the working class, the younger working class, especially lately. I'm a youth director at Mount Olivet. I was recently hired, and I just began reaching out to anybody in my age range and younger about essentially what was interested them in this area in local government. And starter homes are a huge problem. Rent in general is a huge problem. More than one person I spoke to are leaving the area because they can't afford to stay here. So economically, anybody who's putting any time into studying economics, there's a peak where these things peak out and then everything begins to decline altogether. So a labor force is very important. A labor force that can access easily businesses downtown are going to be important to ensure that our Main Street doesn't go away or collapse. So I think everything is kind of tied together with affordable housing. I also have a big a strong passion for the clean water. Being a millennial, I guess it's just kind of in our blood. I have heard some things about some of the water runoff. I think that we definitely need to take a look at what we can do to better manage that. Luckily, this area works really well together. People are, we have some of the best resources in the brains of our citizens. I think that citizen-driven innovation is absolutely key to growing any area and leading them into the next chapter. So I think that with the variety of ideas that I have in my unusual background, I think that I can definitely add a piece to the chess table that is going to renovate sort of some of the ideas that we already have going. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ruth. Sherry, I accidentally jumped over you. You were third on my list. As a challenger, why are you running?
Yes, I'm running because I feel like I can bring some experience in working for many years in local government and being really a part of residents. My kids used to say, I feel so accessible and I want always to be accessible, but my kids used to say they wouldn't go to the grocery store with me because it would take an hour to get a gallon of milk because there were so many people to talk to. And that's how I really am as an elected official. I work hard. I'm very available to people and encourage folks to connect with me when they've got anything that's on their minds. So I have a lot of experience. I've gone through many things in 20 years as a past local government elected official, but I have a real heart for it. I care so much about making sure that the right thing is done. And in local government, it's really important to know that every decision that you make impacts people's everyday lives, their everyday lives. So every topic that we talk about, whether it's housing or our businesses thriving, it's really important to do a deep dive, learn as much as possible, and make the very best decisions that we can. So that's one aspect of why I'm running. I also have a background in historic preservation. I really feel so strongly about keeping our Manteo style, our Manteo way that we look, our quaintness. That's why people come here. That's what makes people fall in love with Manteo and want to stay. And so many folks that I meet so many people who've lived here and had the wonderful benefit of growing up here. But I've also met a lot of people who just so want to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Our second question this evening comes from Dave Stemple. In your eyes, what are the most important problems facing Manteo, and what do you think you can do to solve them? We will first hear from Ruth.
Hi, yes. So just based on what everybody's saying, everybody in this room knows traffic is a huge problem. I have gone out of my way just as a citizen to begin to ask people about it. I've asked some of the commissioners here, and I met with the county planner to ask for her perspective because she's very seasoned. I realized that we have isolated issues all through our town that need fixing. We have a big complaint about sidewalks. I went through our ordinances and saw some were privately owned and some were publicly owned. There's an issue there. We can't advertise our walking and bicycling sidewalks as something that's easily accessible and advertise it to be fairly usable at all when many of them are in disrepair. We even had an accident not that long ago on one. So that I hear from the EMS happens annually, which is bizarre. We have a few things that are small issues that need revamping. We have issues with some areas of our docks that people complain about. A lot of people want more things to do in the off season. So I think that there's just a basket of ideas that we really need to address with a lot of minds and community collaboration. But traffic is a big one that's going to be a complaint across the board. And then affordable housing always comes up, but really getting the community together. I think that's a standard theme all through town, that people really want those holiday events and things that kind of bring us back together and help us get to know each other, especially coming out of this season of isolation. So
thank you very much, Ruth. And next we'll hear from Sherry.
Yes, we've talked a lot about housing, and it's kind of an interesting tension because I do think, well, the planning board, we've been talking a lot about it. I know the Board of Commissioners also talking a lot about what to do about housing, affordable housing particularly, but just housing in general. So that's a really big one. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of land left to develop for housing. So we've got the tension with that. We have to figure that out. There's something interesting happening in Manteo that people are talking about. And it's this, I don't know, it might be a paradigm shift where all of a sudden we're getting so many more people here, which is wonderful for businesses. I talk to businesses downtown and they say that their Septembers were as busy as their July. So it's kind of an interesting place to be where we are a tourism-based economy here, and we want tourists to come. However, we have the unintended consequences, I guess, of traffic, and we also have we have to close down some restaurants sometimes because we don't have enough people to work in them. So I think we have to kind of measure and see, is this truly a paradigm shift that we are now working with our new normal of having so many people visiting us, which is, like I said, a wonderful thing. There's tension there. It's good and it's bad. But I can tell you, I know that it's something we need to look at because that new common that we have, I walk every day, and that new common is often filled. So that's an interesting thing we need to talk about in terms of what our economy is and what we will do about this influx of people that we're very happy to have. But what do we do? Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Eddie, in your eyes, what are the most important problems facing Manteo, and what do you think you can do to solve them?
What I hear the most is about housing, housing in general and affordable housing. We do have a limited area left to build, to develop. But in order to develop our remaining area, we have to look at the wastewater treatment plant. Ultimately, you can't build out the property unless the wastewater treatment plant can handle that capacity. So we have to look at some things to do with what we want to do with the remaining land that we have, and then what we need to do with the wastewater treatment plant to accommodate that expansion, areas that should be or should not be, and ultimately partner with the town and look at this 20-year comprehensive plan and see the hard work that these residents have put into this plan, and then put pen to paper, make sure that their wants and needs are sought out in the near future. Traffic is an issue. It's kind of a result of a good problem that we have people coming here. But we do need to do a traffic flow study. I actually heard that 4 years ago, and that's something we actually need to do. We need to do a traffic flow study with DOT. We have some roads that could change from one way to two way, or do some different traffic flow patterns throughout town to make the traffic flow better. And foot and bicycle traffic needs to be more accessible. Wayfinding, we've done a lot with that in the past, but we need to continue moving forward to make wayfinding better accessible for people by car and by foot to travel through town and to find the entire town, and not just downtown, but there's a lot of places in Manteo that are really neat to find for people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eddie. And now we'll hear from Christine.
First, I'd just like to agree with what everyone has said. Affordable housing, of course, housing in general, like Eddie said, eventually we're going to run out of space for people to live in Manteo. Our wastewater treatment plant, we're like at half capacity right now from my understanding. So we need to make sure we're taking care of the existing industries and businesses and residents, before we embark on anything that could change that, or, incur an very expensive expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. But also along with that, an issue that I think that we're facing, or it's not an issue, but just part of the makeup in town is the different array of people that we have here. We have an aging population of, natives or lifelong citizens, whatever you like to call them. But, we have youth here. I have 2 teenagers here, and I'm scared that they're either going to get sucked into, a tough physical type job, career, whatever you'd like to call it, without, any really type of a future benefit, or that they're going to have to leave because there is no, there's no place for them, or there's no opportunity for them. So, I have to really think about that when I vote on issues with the town, because like I said, they're my priority. Just like Eddie said, with children, it's what binds you here. It's our future. It's my past. I've lived here my whole life. I don't want to go anywhere else. We have a Hispanic, Latino population.
Thank you, Christine. We're about to
Oh,
town.
sorry.
But all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to question number 3, sent in by Beth Story. While Manteo is stepping up with at least one project to address the affordable housing issue, this will also increase density, traffic, and congestion. How do you find a balance? We'll begin with Sherry.
Pardon me, I'm sorry about that. But yes, that is the question that we're all trying to figure out. Whether you're on the planning board, or you're a commissioner, or you're a citizen like Beth Story who is concerned about it. And there is a balance that needs to be sought. But as we've already talked about with housing, there are only so many places we have left. Fortunately, we do have a few new ideas that have come forward. We haven't seen them actually yet in proposal form or anything like that, but people are talking about some other places that could possibly have housing on the land. So we're just trying to work through that. I think Eddie is absolutely right. We have to have a traffic plan. We had one a few years ago, but our world has changed here. And so I really think we have to have a traffic plan. We have to hire someone to help us do a traffic plan on what will happen if these developments do go through. The other thing is, we are not in this alone. Manteo is not in this alone. We've got Dare County. We've got Mans Harbor. We've got places around the beach. We all need to be looking strategically at a way we can address. And affordable housing is one aspect. We also need housing for the elderly because, as you know, we have many, many retirees who are moving here. And I've always thought that the most important thing is to have what I call life cycle housing, where young people, just starting out can be, and people can age in place. And so we need to really look strategically at how we can do this on a few islands that we have here. But it's going to take a larger discussion and many voices in that. But we've got to work on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Next, we will hear from Ruth.
Hi. Yes. So I think that we should do something unique. I think that we're not really gonna come up with a lot of solutions on traffic with just the current way that we have for assessing it. I think we need to tap into our university system, NC State, UNC, and I think that we need to run city building simulators. I think we need to collect data on the traffic flows that we currently have. I think we need to build some kinds of projections and really get some serious analysis in partnership with this forward-thinking kind of university system that we have, so that we really know every single scenario. We live in a world where that's possible, so there's no reason for us to not tap in. Also, it allows us to partner with COA and maybe develop a youth program or young adult program where they can work in this city planning, city development kind of scenario situation, and innovation could come from that. I mean, we could begin a blueprint for something that then is exported to other areas and helps our area at large. We could do this in partnership with the county, but I think looking into those modern tools will really help us in these kind of scenarios, because there's just so many unknowns, there's so many what ifs, and there's not a lot of fixes as it currently stands. A lot of people bring up the idea of adding new roadways, but that's eminent domain. That's the worst things you could ever say out loud in public. I mean, someone might torch your house for that. So I think we really need to use the friend that can be technology in this particular situation and really get all the facts before moving forward on anything. So thank you. Thank you, Beth.
To repeat the question, while Manteo is stepping up with at least one project to address the affordable housing issue, this will also increase density, traffic, and congestion. How do you find the balance? Next, we will hear from Christine.
That's a great question by Beth. I think she's referring to the pilot project that we have on Sir Walter Raleigh, which I believe is 4 lots. We could get like 5 or 6 units on each of those. So yes, there will be, some more traffic, but luckily, I guess it's on the west side, and we do have a plan there in place. There is a west side connectivity plan, and we probably should get back to looking at that. Before we spend any more money studying. We could spend money, crazy amounts of money studying anything, and time. But there is a west side connectivity. So I think we could, look into that, maybe also eliminating some curb cuts. There's some curb cuts around town probably that can be eliminated, and, really focus the traffic to where they need to be, more to the lights, more to right turn onlys, no left turns, which, can drive you insane. So, I think it's just really a smart, smart development, looking at where, where we can go with that, rather than, just letting it go as part of expansion or part of housing and having more citizens. Is resource sharing also with the county, and whatever they could do maybe to help us with that as well. But, I don't think it's going to be a real big issue for the town. I mean, it definitely will make such a great benefit for those that are going to live there. And it will definitely be worth any kind of hassle that, we have to face with, 20 more cars.
Thank you
That's
so
all.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine. Last, we'll hear from Mindy.
Thank you. That's a great question. How do we expand without overburdening our current services and traffic? I think ultimately we have to do a DOT traffic study. And that won't only help our current state of traffic, but our future developments as well, to make sure traffic's flowing in and out properly and safely. We can partner with DOT to make sure that traffic study is done correctly. They have the professionals in place. We can tap into that resource. And fortunately, we have a DOT representative that lives just outside of Manteo who's got a great working relationship with the board members, and I think would be great to tap into and help us out to do a traffic study in a costly manner and an efficient manner to figure out where we can expand without overburdening traffic. And then through our ordinances to make sure that there's an adequate amount of parking, on-site, off-site, roadside parking, to make sure that those new developments have the space for the cars that they may have. And then some of our areas we can currently update some on the road parking areas. We can do a better job of marking those areas to make sure that all spaces are utilized to increase the flow of traffic, increase parking throughout town. Wayfinding would also help with that, increased wayfinding. So I think there's a lot of avenues, resources we can tap into to help with that problem and hopefully make a solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Our fourth question this evening was sent in by Robert Keeney. Manteo is a great place to live, work, and grow a business. What 3 projects would you like to implement to make Manteo an even better town for all? We will begin with Eddie.
Wow, that's a great question. So there's an expansion of COA, which can help not only our current residents with education, workforce education, but I think if we partner with them and we make smart choices with COA, we can not only affect our current residents, future residents, children education, but also wayfinding from COA to the town to help what we call the shoulder season. Those students who will be in COA on the shoulder season can help stimulate the economy in Manteo with proper wayfinding. It's an opportunity for events in Manteo. I'll move on to the next topic because that's going to be long. But second, environmental. I believe that we can create a living reef in Shallowbag Bay with a partnership from a couple different environmental institutes we have close by. We could do a living shellfish reef that would help clean nitrogens and chemicals in Shallowbag Bay and also increase the fishing resource for commercial recreational fishermen in Manteo, and hopefully draw more people here that are into environmental resources. I think that's another goal I'd like to start on. And third is housing. I want to see my kids be able to live here one day. I'd like to continue for my grandmother and other residents, older residents to live here, and then people who move from out of town that are contributing members of our town. I'd love for them to live here and be the best possible citizens they can be. And I want to help their quality of life while they're here.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Next, we will hear from Christine.
First of all, I really would like to look at the activities, maybe recreational activities for our youth. I feel like we're going to lose some of that with the COA project. There's a ball field there. The skate park is there. It's county property, and we don't have much say about what happens there. Hopefully that is there left in place, but we definitely need to take care of our youth, and they need to have outlets, for their energy. There's jumping off the bridge. I saw a lot of that this summer, and, some not issues necessarily from that, but things that brings, as well. Just, always a problem, not a problem, but, youth. Again, I have 2 teenagers. I can speak highly of all the issues that they have going on. But then also the businesses or buildings that we have in town right now that, I hate to call them abandoned. They're not abandoned, but they sure could use some repurposing, some updating. Some of the county buildings we had the old LOC building that unfortunately we could not save. And luckily it did help the elementary school in the process with being demolished. But the county has some old buildings. There's, old buildings in town that we really, really would like, to save, that I'd like to see, support businesses go in there. Manteo is a great place for that, for small business. We really could have so much going on down there. I mean, more than what is there now, more offices, more support for the tourism industry, for boat building, for commercial fishing, seafood market would be great there. So, anything we could do with rehabbing. I know the Downtown Community Associate Program is going strong with Michelle Bunce.
Christine, I'm afraid you probably cannot see Lorelei on your screen.
Oh,
So
sorry.
Hayden,
For 2 minutes.
Yes. Thank you very much for your response. It is fast, isn't it? Next, we will hear from Sherry.
Yes, the three projects that I can think of that are important to me, one of them is actually in process, and that's that Downtown Associates, which will be a part of we will be a part of the Main Street America program. That is going to keep our historic buildings used and useful by businesses, but it will not only do that. So we'll be able to preserve all that, but we'll also be able to hear those cash registers sing. And so our businesses will do very, very well being a part of this program. And because tourism is so big in Manteo, we need ways to move people around, make sure that they can get here, make sure they get out of those cars and walking around, enjoying the restaurants and places to shop. So that's a really important one to me. And we're working really hard to figure out what our economic strategies will be so we can make all that happen. So that's a really big one for me. Another one is the waterfront and enhancing, our waterfront is a gem. It's the gem in Manteo. I mean, whether it's day or night, it is so beautiful. And we've got the longest boardwalk, I think, in the state of North Carolina. So I just want to make sure that for our waterfront, in terms of enhancements, that we keep it clean, keep it beautiful with the plantings, make sure all those sidewalks are repaired, but we also want to keep it vibrant with events for people to participate in and want to come back to. They loved it so much one year, they're going to come back the next. And then my third one is protect the natural environment, which is part of making Shallowbag Bay, the harbor, beautiful along the waterway there. So we have to be really careful thank you.
Thank you so much, Sherry. We appreciate that. Last, we'll hear from Ruth.
Hi, yes. So I won't harp on the affordable housing anymore because I know that's important. So I'll add a few other things. I recently spoke with someone that was interested in bringing an oyster farming business here. Oysters are natural filters. I have a strong stance on the natural reef. I think that the living edge is an amazing idea. I also looked into what Chesapeake Bay did with the marsh grass. It was very effective in adding to the filtration of their water. And so I would love for us to look into the 1996 act that went in the NC Clean Water Management Trust Fund and see what we can do to clean up our bay, so that we can then have fishing festivals with competitions that our local communities in Wanchese and Mans Harbor, where our brothers and sisters are all over this place, Collington, come and share in something that's very unique about this area. And that's, we are a heritage fishing community. I mean, we used to have fish canning facilities. That was a business here once upon a time, along with the Orange Crush Soda Company, oddly enough. I also would like to see, obviously, the app development. That's a big idea that I really want to run with. I think that turning Manteo into a smart city doesn't change the visibility of Manteo. It actually allows us to generate revenue in a way that we can continue to beautify and add facades and glorify this Manteo way of building that we already have, while generating revenue as a municipality in the back end, potentially collaborating with COA so that our youth and young adults can jump into a app development program that's partnered with our school system, and maybe potentially grow that here as well, because this is a beautiful place to go to school. And a lot of people I went to school with end up staying at COA. So I think that growing that relationship could really help. So there's two of my ideas. Sorry, I'm running over.
That's quite all right, Ruth. That's a big question for a 2-minute time slot. Our fifth question this evening is also from Beth Story. Global warming will cause significant water rise issues and more severe storms. What do you think Manteo should do to help residents and businesses to deal with this situation? We will begin with Ruth.
Hi, Beth. I was speaking with someone on the planning board today, and you guys are familiar with this issue. As some areas were built and filled in, other existing areas began to flood. Some of our drain systems went away or in need of repair. I think it's expensive to run these studies and begin assessments. Obviously, technology can't really jump in on this point. So this is going to be feet on the ground, assessing what we have. But I think we need to look at landfilling and how that affects specific neighborhoods if we, as we do continue to develop land. But we will have to make sure that we have a good amount of functioning drain systems. I know that that's something that our boards have dealt with for years and done a really good job, but as things continue to flood, we are in an area that can have levees. So we're going to need some kind of situation that really deals with that. And I think a really good assessment of our storm drain system is definitely always in the conversation. So I think there's one spot in downtown that even the Department of Transportation has had their eyes on, and it does need some work because there's only so much you can raise these buildings. So I think that that's definitely something that we need to look at. Also raising buildings, that's going to be something as well. There are places downtown that's not possible, but as we've seen through driving through Manteo, there are plenty of places being raised. That's a partnership with the federal government that obviously is can be tricky, but definitely something that we should encourage the homeowners to apply for those grants when the time comes up. I recently spoke with someone that didn't even know that a deadline was coming up. So I think awareness and being those community public information police kind of will help people be able to get themselves in line for stuff like that. But the storm drains definitely, especially in downtown.
Thank you very much, Ruth.
Yeah.
Next, we will hear from Christine.
First of all, I'd just like to say that's another great question by Beth. I live downtown and it does not take much for my property to flood, and stormwater is a big concern of mine. As everyone knows, we've probably in our 5th or 6th year now of appropriating tax dollars to stormwater projects. So we, as the priority is made known, there is a phases that we are progressing through with stormwater projects, and we've completed, quite a few of those, which does seem to help. We also have a tide gauge down at the weather station or the weather tower, which monitors the tide there. So that's very helpful. And just basically keeping stormwater on your property, which is hard. I do have a storm drain, like Ruth said, storm drainage, it's awesome as long as it doesn't back up. And then, that's a whole nother problem. But we have the rain garden or the water garden out at the former Bucks property. So that helps filter out some impurities that might go back with rainwater or stormwater from that. And just some green space, more green space and less pervious surface or it would go a long ways towards helping the town. So yeah, definitely a priority of mine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine. Next, we will hear from Eddie.
Thank you. A few things we can do. We need to make sure that the current ditch and drainage systems are on a maintenance schedule where they're cleaned periodically to make sure that they flow out as quickly as possible whenever we have storms. We're gonna get water. That's the double-edged sword of living in the best place in the world is we're on an island, we're gonna get water. We need to make sure it gets out of here as quickly as it comes in. So we need to make sure that those ditch systems and drainage systems are clean and accessible for the water to flow out. We also need to protect what areas of marshland that we have. They act as a filter for water coming in and water coming out. So we need to make sure that the remaining areas that we have are protected. And other things we can do to help in our upcoming land use plan update, there are new technologies now to storing water runoff. There are cells that can capture water that you can store underneath the ground through pervious materials that would help when water comes in to help direct that water in other areas. So that's things we can use to implement in upcoming land use plans, development updates to help come up with some solution for that problem. That's a problem that we're going to have. We need to find numerous ways to help address that, because it's not just going to be one thing that's going to fix it. A living shoreline will help. Protecting the shoreline will help. Cleaning the ditches will help. Creating more drains will help, and more lift stations will help. But it's a lot of things that we need to do to make sure that happens.
Thank you very much, Eddie. That's what we'll hear from Sherry.
Thank you. Yes, I think fortunately, and I really appreciate the question. It is something that's on top of mind, I think, for all of us. And it's something that we talk about on the planning board quite a lot. So fortunately, we have some good partners who are also watching this and trying to come up with solutions with us. So we've got CAMA, and that's the Coastal Area Management Act, the folks associated with that, and the Army Corps of Engineers. So I'm glad we've got some experts that we can turn to and, try to work on solutions together. But Eddie's right. This is a multi-pronged approach, has to be. So one really important thing, I think, and I probably mentioned this before, and that is that we have to keep our coastal wetlands and our upland wetlands healthy. I think that's a really important thing for any kind of flooding. We also have to be very careful with development as we go forward. As we know, when you develop and there's fill, it has an impact on the land. It has an impact on the water. We have really good land use plans and strategies for working on that. And we have to do a deep assessment when a lot is being slated or asked for development. Other things I think that are important are stormwater management. And we are actually working with the businesses downtown, specifically on individual plans so that they can keep themselves safe, and then we can figure out ways of not having trying to get the water through as fast as possible and not having so many pollutants also get into the water. So those are some of the ways thank you.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Our sixth question this evening comes from Winifred Wiley. Do you think the Manteo Board of Commissioners can or should influence the College of the Albemarle to offer programs or courses that support jobs in renewable energy or fiber optics? We will begin with Eddie.
Sure, I think through working relationships, we can and we should influence the COA in any way we can to help our citizens with any kind of incoming industry that'll help give jobs to existing citizens and young people that are coming up. Fiber optics, of course, that's something where most utility communication is going. If they can offer a class that's viable, that will get people here, train them, and then move them forward in that course throughout life, then absolutely we should use what influence or connections that we have to try to make sure they get classes for citizens that will utilize those resources in the future, along with many different things other than fiber optics. There's a lot of service and trade industries that we need to make sure that young adults are trained for and then are able to make great living wages so they can remain in the area and help out the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Next, we will hear from Sherry.
First of all, I just have to say what an incredible asset it is to have a college in your town. It's a relationship that really needs to be developed as much as possible. And I love that we have students, young minds that are that can help us with some of the obstacles that we have. And in fact, we had a meeting last week and asked for students from COA to come to give their input about what they would like to see happening in downtown Manteo. So I think we need a strong link between students to hear, what other kinds of programs they would like to have as well. But of course, fiber optics is wonderful, but so are so many other things. And I think to keep a college fresh, that's always a really good idea. So I love that we have the college in Manteo, and I love that we have a connection with the students there.
Thank you very much. Next, we will hear from Ruth.
Hello again. Dude, I love COA. Dean Sweeney is one of the coolest people I've ever talked to. His name is Sweeney, by the way. He is like a pioneer. He's so enthusiastic about any program, any curriculum that anybody's interested in bringing to the area. They added a whole nonprofit section. I mean, they are willing to get on board with what this community wants. So I think any kind of influence with them sounds great. It's a partnership. I see them from my bedroom window, y'all. Like, I love COA. I think that they anything that we come up with that would be in the e-commerce realm, fiber optic naturally goes hand in hand with the tech industry that I would love to pop up in Dare County, because it allows us to have work from home jobs that don't require any brick and mortar. So it's like a win-win. But e-commerce. I was talking to a high school gal today, and she told me that within her school, more than a handful of people created their own pop-up businesses. One created a fashion line during COVID. We need to have e-commerce classes and website design, more advanced website design, marketing, all kinds of classes that are curated to this work from home industry. Because if we don't have a lot of space for brick and mortar, we got to double down on what we do have space for. And that's learning. We have lots of space for learning. So I think a partnership with COA is just a natural fit. I really think that we can definitely work together to grow this kind of like, downtown college vibe. It's a beautiful place, and they can walk to downtown, enjoy the boardwalk. If we have really good internet available, which we will have in our commons, I hear is coming from the Board of Commissioners, they'll be able to sit on their laptops and do their, activities there. So I like the idea of growing this into something that really favors that demographic. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Last, we'll hear from Christine.
Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, I'm down for a fashion line, Ruth. I need some help in that department. But definitely our youth are our greatest asset here. And, whatever we can do to help improve their future, and, people that have lived here a long time can help out the COA by making suggestions. Fiber optics is great. I think with the expansion of I-87 and under the roadway there that is being taking place right now already. I was in Chapel Hill yesterday and seeing all that new construction. So fiber optics is great. I don't know all that technology, but whatever we can do to foster the relationship between the town and the COA, and definitely the students. I love a college vibe. College was the best years of my life. So, I think it's great. They already have a great selection of classes. So I'm so excited. I'm still hoping to get my children there. But we're so fortunate, and we really, I'm really hoping that we can take advantage of the resources that they have to offer us.
Thank you so much, Christine. We're going to move on to our 7th question this evening, also sent in by Beth Story. How do you answer the concerns about the longevity of a healthy water system with increased housing density? We will begin with Sherry.
A very good question. So density, when you look at what residents have wanted in density, it's been, they have wanted in the past lower density. So that's why we're right in the midst of looking at our comprehensive guide plan and asking people, asking residents, are we still doing what you had identified as being a value 10, 15 years ago. So we are actually looking at the question of density. And of course, the longevity of water. I mean, you know, just even the wastewater, as Eddie had mentioned, that will be incredibly impacted by density. So I think we're at something like 52% of our capacity right now. Once we reach 80% for our wastewater, that means that we better have a plan for expansion. And by 90%, we better be we better be actually under construction for a wastewater expansion of wastewater treatment plant. So I think density will have a huge, whatever is decided as we are working on our comp plan right now, whatever the town decides they want in density will definitely have an impact on our wastewater.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Eddie.
Yeah, so right now there's a engineer study being done of our water utility lines, wastewater and incoming potable water. So what we can do is make sure those lines that are aged, older, need repairs are replaced first. That way, when we have the cleanest water possible at the water treatment plant, by the time it comes to your house, we don't want it run through older pipes. So we want those pipes to be as clean as possible. And then for increased building density, we need to make sure that those pipes going from that plant to your home are of a size big enough to service additional lines if needed. So if currently, and I'm not a water treatment guy, but if the water pipe diameter is a 3-inch running down Main Street and there's going to be more houses in that area, maybe we need to increase it when we replace it to a 4-inch or a 5-inch or a 6-inch to make sure that it has the capacity and flow rate for additional houses. And then the wastewater, we're at estimates between 50 and 60% of wastewater capacity. I believe at 75%, we have to have plans for an expansion. So we don't need an expansion yet, but we need to plan for that when it comes. We need to plan on what steps do we need to take to make sure that that expansion, if needed, is done in the most cost-effective and environmentally friendly manner for the increased density. There has to be some studies involved in that. Of course, there's costs involved with studies, but that would have to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we will hear from Christine.
Thank you. I know that, you know, we have some aging water lines in town. Where I live along Croatan was one of the oldest. We're getting ready to take care of John Borden Street, which is long overdue for some repair and new lines that are going in. You know, and we're fortunate that we've been able to take advantage of state funding, state grant funding. We've recently, within the past couple of years, received like $150,000 for asset and inventory counting with our water system. And so, you know, we still have very clean water, and, you know, we're not receiving violations. I love our water. You know, I drink our water. I don't buy water from outside sources. I drink the town water, and it's all very clean. My husband had a town, or he had a state water license, and I used to work in Wanchese where we had our own water system. So I'm familiar with that. And our, you know, our drinking water is very clean. So I don't think there's going to be a problem, you know, until you start talking about expansion, and then it's just going to be money.
Thank you, Christine. Our 8th question this evening was also submitted by Robert Keeney. Do you believe there are sufficient recreational activities in Manteo for children? If not, do you feel the town, along with the Visitors Bureau and Dare County, should construct additional facilities for children that live in Manteo and on Roanoke Island? We will begin with Christine.
Yes. Yes, thank you. That's a great question. I didn't realize I was unmuted, but I'm glad I had to go first. You know, this county has taken care of every segment of the population, but I think we have really fallen short with our youth. You know, they have been They have been put in the corner with the county recreation back at the Lions Club. My kids were playing with the league, and they were back there. They're in aging facilities. We really need to step it up. I mean, like I said earlier, the skate park, the ball field, they're jumping off the bridge for entertainment. We really got to get it together and offer our youth, something productive. And I would love to be involved in any of that, whatever we can do, but no, we are not serving our youth, and we definitely are failing them right now. And we have a lot to do in that regards.
Thank you very much, Christine. Next, we'll hear from Ruth.
Yes. So just about the housing density, or the water and the density on the housing thing before, I just want to mention you can regulate low flow toilets and low flow other things. You can have incentives around that. That's something that we can definitely discuss in our ordinances should we need to, because we are going to have growth. It's unavoidable when people buy land. So we can talk about that. But as for the youth, there's broken playground equipment pretty often. And I have a nephew and he wants to go get on that playground equipment. So we got to make sure it's fixed. I think the west side of town also has a playground that we need to make sure is maintained well. I think growing activities that are interactive, just to bring up the app development again, my early app idea that I pitched to the town manager about a year ago was an adventure interactive scavenger hunt app that exists already in England. It's essentially a family QR code scanning app that goes through the town, and then miscellaneous businesses that choose to participate will have something behind the desk that's a prize for the kids. I think that we can really take the smartphone that everyone has. I mean, I see 8-year-olds that walk by my house that have smartphones. I think we can tie something in with that. Geocaching actually was on the rise during COVID, and we have a very interesting historical area where we could create with our amazing art community some kind of a scavenger hunt again that has a history story behind it and tells a lot about this area while creating these little treasures all throughout the town that people can interact with. So I think that there's obviously playgrounds and activities that we could build on. I used to do the shark teeth hunting constantly at Festival Park as a kid, but I also believe that, again, technology can play a role here and create some kind of bonding to the town with the youth and young adults. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Next, we will hear from Sherry.
Yes, I also agree. I concur with everyone. I think kids really need opportunities so that they can, focus on good, healthy things to do. I have noticed that the playground equipment is not that great. And I've also noticed parks that really are kind of underutilized. And we are a town with so much water. It seems to me that there would be more water-focused activities for youth. I know that we've got the sailing school in the summer, but I think that there's so much more that we can do. And I think that it would be great to even have some town-sponsored activities for kids. Yeah. So I concur. I think we are doing our youth a disservice by not having more activities for them in an environment where there's so many possibilities. So I think we need to figure out what they want. And in fact, that's what where I would start is what would interest them. I think we need to do some conversations with our youth at various ages and find out what they want to do. And then I think it would, I mean, maybe there's nothing here that we've even talked about that really interests them. But when you've got 3 schools in a small area with lots of youth, it seems to me this would be a good focus for us to tap into. And, those great brains, they can then also help us. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Last, we will hear from Eddie.
So the short answer is I don't know if we could ever have enough outlets for our youth. I've got 2 young boys, and if anybody thinks they can keep them busy for 8 hours, feel free to come get them. I think there are some things we can do to improve what we have. Playground equipment can be improved. And And I've always had a vision of, on the waterfront in Manteo, a youth fishing dock, an area that has rails on the side that youth can fish from safely and securely without any risk of falling overboard, like a miniature fishing pier, if you will. And then things like fishing poles are relatively cheap. So we can provide that kind of thing for kids to come and utilize some of the environment that we have, upgrading playground equipment. I've seen other playgrounds that have outdoor musical setups. So kids all learn differently. So any kind of way we can use to help kids learn and explore. There's a lot of areas that we can do that with. The Pea Island area, that's a good opportunity for kids to learn, explore, playground across the street. We have some green space that we can do better with creating some trails, wayfinding things, making things exciting, and also a learning opportunity for the the rich historical area that we're in, as well as utilizing some of our environmental resources to help keep the youth entertained and busy, and making sure we help with events such as youth sponsored skating events or softball games, or anytime the town can help sponsor something like that, we should. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Our ninth question this evening was submitted by Christine Dorsey. What do you see as the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on Manteo, and what do you think the long-term effect will be? We'll begin with Christine.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I had the pleasure of experiencing COVID about 6 weeks ago. So I was very fortunate that I had a mild case, but I definitely, feel for those that have not. Oh, I'm sorry, my dog is barking. But I hope that we have. I'm sorry, let me let her out. Hopefully we haven't lost any residents due to COVID, but I know that's a possibility. But I know as far as the town is concerned, there's been focus on continuity of government with COVID, and just the same as, like, not the same, but when we have hurricanes and storms and they can't be in the office, or they have to be separated into their own offices, and distance has to be maintained. So there's been a lot of trial by fire with that, and maybe we had a little bit of experience because of hurricanes, but definitely I would say a continuity of government is the main concern. And just helping out the citizens in general. We did like a relief fund where we would help them out with their water bills up to, I think it was $500. So I mean, that would have been great. I mean, if I hadn't been a commissioner, I couldn't apply for it, but I definitely was impacted. I was laid off for 6 weeks or so from my job. So I know people have been affected, and it's horrible. But I think the town has been very forthcoming and compassionate wherever we can be. So definitely, doing what we can in that situation. And again, it's just all kind of at the moment, whatever we can offer. I think we're very flexible in that manner.
Thank you so much, Christine. Next, we will hear from Sherry.
Yes, I think COVID-19 has had a huge impact on Manteo and the Outer Banks in general. There's been this big boom in building new houses, and also, as we all know, so many more people visiting Manteo and the Outer Banks. I think part of that is COVID driven. I think when Forbes magazine wrote that article saying the place that people are dreaming of during COVID, the place for people to visit, it was the Outer Banks. And I think people said, yeah, it's so safe there. It's so, isolated, and we will be safe there. So I think that it has had really a substantive impact um, on the Outer Banks and Manteo. Because I think what's happening is that people are deciding that they can retire early and they can come here and they can work from home. And so that's why we've noticed so many building permits, being pulled in Manteo. I think that's what's happening. So that's interesting because that's all part of that paradigm shift that we've been talking about with this influx of many more people, and also visitors coming here to work during their vacation or during a vacation spot. So I think that we are seeing a lot of impact from that. Also, our businesses are they're still in the midst of trying to figure out, how to have more tables outside. I love it. Some of our businesses are so smart; they've completely changed their business due to COVID. So instead of having people inside, they are taking orders and they're bringing their orders out to their car. That's old school, but I'm telling you, it's working for COVID-19. So I think there are many impacts that will last for a long time in many different areas in Manteo.
Thank you, Sherry. Next, we will hear from Ruth.
Hi, so I'm just going to take it a little bit of a different direction because it's what I felt when I heard the question. I think that the isolationism that has occurred during COVID has definitely negatively impacted a lot of locals. And when I say locals, I mean everybody, just so nobody gets that word twisted. We've seen a lot of loss of life of young people. We've seen some drug and alcohol problems. Depression rates are over tripling. I think that we've had some serious scars occur in our community that are going to be really difficult to recover from. There's children that are heavily affected. So sorry, I was just speaking with someone about it today. So I think we need to begin to look at mental health and outreach programs and counseling and developing small groups. I think art therapy, we could work with the Dare County Arts Council. They have an amazing young new programs director. I think Michelle would be an amazing person to work with the Town of Manteo programs director. I think that we can really do something as a community by tapping into this incredible network of counselors, therapists, and churches that we have in our area to really build something that helps people come out of the emotional part of COVID. I think that businesses are innovating. We're seeing a lot of really smart things happening in our area, but I think just checking in on each other and kind of taking that pulse will be useful going forward. So I think that's definitely, mental health is something to look into for sure. Sorry, it's just, everybody knows, you've all heard the stories, and it's been a really rough time for this community. So I think not having things to do, that it kind of circles back to that. So we really need to think about everybody as a community family. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Last, we will hear from Eddie.
I kind of view it as it's been a roller coaster. There's been highs and lows, and lows, of course, is our health and welfare. But I've also seen some highs of it spawns creativity from people who have been isolated. I've seen a lot of jobs businesses start out of people that have been isolated and have done well with it through COVID. I think it's helped, and I hate to say COVID has helped something, but it's helped our economy a bit as far as the trades go. People coming here because we are kind of an environmental area that they can go to and be outside most of the time. But the mental health that's affected, a lot of people is, of course, something we should do to extend whatever resources we have to help people connect with mental health professionals, healthcare professionals, to be able to access that when needed. And it's not just affected one group; it's affected everybody. So it's something that we need to look at. Healthcare and mental health are just as real problems as anything else, and it needs all the attention that we devote to other things as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Our last prepared question for the evening was submitted by Robert Keeney. What specific steps do you feel the town should take to address the vehicle drivers who speed in Manteo? We'll begin with Eddie.
So that's area I'm familiar with. I hate to sound like the law and order guy because I've tried to avoid that for so long, but it's a pretty easy thing to address. People violate the speed law. You write enough tickets, people are going to slow down. And that might affect me. I might get a ticket. You know, it'll hurt some feelings for a little while, but eventually you'll either slow down or you'll pay to speed. And that's kind of an easy thing to address as far as a law enforcement guy. You get guys out there, you have them set up with some radar and get the police cars visible. You make sure they're visible so people know to slow down. And then you start enforcing the law and holding people accountable for their actions. And hopefully bad actions will change into good actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. You know, I might have been pulled over in Manteo once or twice. Next, we will hear from Ruth.
I hate to also be law and order, but I say up the fine. I can't help it. I went to a house campaigning today and there was a 4-year-old on a trike on the sidewalk where someone zoomed right by us on Ananias Dare. And she said, all I care about is that right there, speeding. On Fernando Street, they're always speeding. They've talked about another stop sign here because I live near the skate park and there's a ton of youth and young adults that go back and forth and people speed like crazy through here. I think up the fine. I say get hard with it because this is a quaint, historic family community. You don't need to go 45 into 20 there's a sharp curve at the end of my road too. So I think it's fine to extend the long arm of the law sometimes when it protects the kids here. So I hate to be a stickler, but I think speed bumps don't work. We're not going to net them. And they ruled the radar and automatic ticket unconstitutional, I believe. So, or illegal. So I think we're going to have to up the fine maybe and let the cops do their job. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Next, we will hear from Christine.
Sorry, this unmuting. This is such a bothersome topic for me. Even when I live down the street, you know, I've been known to holler a lot at cars going by, and I'm sure they cannot hear me. But I've had many altercations or instances, whatever you want to call it, with people that are driving too fast. I can't stand it. You know, back in my youth, maybe I drove too fast, but I drive way under the speed limit within town. You know, I'm always cognizant of pets, of kids. You know, it only takes a second for them to come out behind a parked car and that's it. So, you know, I know when we were repaving Croatan here where I live, my neighbors asked about speed bumps, and I would have loved to have had a speed bump here. You know, we get a lot of people trying to take a shortcut through town, maybe high school students. And, you know, even today, I'm not going to name names, but there was a certain business vehicle driving way too fast through town that I almost called about. I can't rationalize it. It's just way, you know, slow down. You're on the island. You're not going to get, but so far, you know, I agree with everyone that's spoken before. You know, get tough, make it expensive, hurt their back, their wallet. You know, whatever we can do, get the little radar out. You know, that does help me. I'm in a newer vehicle now, and so I can see that all digitally now, maybe. But yeah, I am all for cracking down on that. You know, even my mother, she had a very heavy metal foot, and I would get on her all the time. So yeah, whatever we can do, I am all for that.
Thank you very much, Christine. Last, we will hear from Sherry.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that we're all doing our part in yelling, because I can tell you, I stand out there and do exactly the same thing. I'm not sure how effective it is. I can't give a ticket, but they will hear me, and they will hear all of you as well. You know, and with speeding, it's like, you know, how many officers do we need? Because someone can speed and get to that stop sign and then stop and nobody sees them except us, you know? And so I don't know. I don't know what you know, how many officers we need to get something started where we can get something stopped, and that is the speeding. So there's the speeding that goes on through town. You know, we're a town that has 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, which seems appropriate. So, you know, that's one issue. The other issue is the speeding on 64, and that is really aggressive speeding. And oftentimes the license plates aren't necessarily, I mean, they're from all over the place. So I was thinking, is there any kind of traffic calming? Christine, you mentioned the radar, you know, that is a traffic calming measure, but is there anything else? Are the lights, are the lights, you know, positioned correctly so that, you know, people aren't getting frustrated? I always think whether it's traffic or whether it's, you know, people speeding, that the thing that we need to do is get people out of their cars, get them to their destinations as efficiently as possible, and get them out of their cars so that they're not committing some of these egregious things that we all dislike. But I would like to look at a little more into traffic calming measures. In addition to tickets,
Thank you very much, Sherry. Mary Jane, do we have any questions from the audience?
We have one question. It's from Doug Beckman. It is, given our concerns with the capacity limitations of our sewer and water system, would it not be prudent to place a moratorium on further annexations?
We will begin with Ruth.
That's a hard question, honestly. Well, if we truly are at 50% capacity, I'm not sure that we could, that warrants slowing. I think that a slow development process has always been the Manteo way. I mean, you can find that in all of our town documents. But I think that growth will happen because when someone owns land legally, you can only hold them back so much from developing. And that's basically the ordinances. If they're within the ordinances, I don't think legally you can say you can't develop. I think that would be a pretty intense stance for the town to take. But I think, and that would be the moratorium you're talking about. So essentially you're talking about taking a pretty strong stance. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm the most novice member of this panel, and I would really need to deep dive and do a lot of seeking of counsel and thinking about that, because I think a moratorium is a pretty intense thing to take on. I think you're going to hear some very advanced answers from the other candidates, but I'm just going to be completely honest with you and tell you that I could not say yes or no on that. I would really have to do some study, because I believe we are going to have some growth. I think that it's on the table right now. I think these other commissioners and even Sherry, who's on the planning board, they know there's growth coming. So I think it's a tough thing to say a yes or no to. I think a no is probably an easier thing. So, but I really appreciate the question, because it is on the front of a lot of people's minds that do want slower growth. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Next, we will hear from Eddie.
So I interpreted that question a little bit differently. I was thinking maybe you're thinking annexing areas from outside of town, inside of town, to use our sewer and water utilities. I'm assuming is what you meant. So state law has changed recently, and please don't quote me on any of this because I'll be way off, but we just had a discussion with the town attorney about annexation. There are some things the town can do to prevent annexation in certain circumstances, but there are other areas that the town would have to accept as annexation if they meet certain criteria as far as income inequality and need of services and things like that. So we can, as a town, I hate to give you a two-sided answer, but we can, as a town, prevent annexation in certain circumstances. But we can't prevent annexation in all circumstances, if that makes sense. So I hate to give you a short answer, but that's the best that I understand it. And to give you a more educated response, I would have to open up that general statute book, and we'll have to deep dive it together to figure that one out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we will hear from Sherry.
Well, it's complicated, and it's a great question, but it's complicated. So there's that friction that we keep talking about. So clearly, we talked so much about housing tonight. So we want more housing, so we want more development. We've said that several times, but then the wastewater expansion will have to come with that because, like we said, whether it's 75 or 80%, you have to have a plan for what you're going to do. And if we're talking about adding more development, and some of the development opportunities that have come forward have been pretty a large number of people on that system. So the first thing we really need to do is we need to figure out what kind of impacts there will be on our wastewater system, given all these different scenarios that might happen. But the other thing is, who's going to pay for the expansion? Who's going to pay for the expansion of the wastewater plant? So it's complicated, and I think we need to be strategic. Like I said, on the planning board, we literally sit down and count lots, and so we need to have an overview of what impacts will be before we would do a moratorium, or before we could even think about doing a moratorium. But I love the way you think, or the reason that you're bringing this question up. It's like, what is available to us? I mean, what can we do? Because, these things are coming. And so we're going to have to be smart about it because it matters to Manio's future in a number of different ways. Thanks for bringing the question forward.
Thank you very much. Now we will hear from Christine.
Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, again, it's a tough question. I wouldn't hesitate to vote on a moratorium if it were needed. Like I said before, it's very, any kind of expansion to the infrastructure, the utilities, we're talking a major investment here. We've been lucky that we've been able to keep the tax rate, at a level rate. All that could possibly change. So I would definitely say, community involvement, bringing in the community, see what it is that they need. I feel like there are plenty of open or vacant spaces maybe that we could utilize without even having to annex properties, but still bring in housing, with what we have already available. But it's a very tough question to call, but I definitely, like I said, I'm not against voting for that, because I really feel like, in my heart, I want to protect the quality of life for the people that live here. And as much as I would like for everyone to experience living in Manteo, it's just not possible. We have to have some controls, and we have to have some regulations. So that could be one of them.
Thank you very much, Christine. That concludes the question and answer segment of our forum tonight. To learn more about the candidates' ideas and philosophy, you may visit our online voter guide, Vote 411, at www.vote411.org. We will now hear the candidates' closing remarks. We will go in reverse order from the opening statements. We will begin with Ruth Jane Stetson.
Hi, everyone. I just want to thank you for putting this together and for letting me have the opportunity to speak in front of you and answer these questions. I know that I'm new in this arena, but I'm an avid learner, and I really enjoy the opportunity to serve my town. I also, like you gals and guys, are very passionate about this area. I think there's a lot that we can do to just invigorate existing elements that exist here. I think that I'm willing to work really hard. I think that, like a lot of you guys, I work well on a team, and I think that we can reach into our community base and find incredible ideas and innovators that can help us come up with creative ways to grow some of these things we've talked about tonight. I think we do have a limited amount of land, but I think there's opportunity here. I think there really is. And I think that we can figure things out if we really go through all the options. And so I I just appreciate the opportunity to answer the questions. And I encourage you to reach out to me if you have any questions or you want to talk any further on any of the ideas that I brought up tonight. But thank you so much for hosting this. And I appreciate the opportunity to serve. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Next, we will hear from Sherry Butcher Wickstrom.
Well, we live in an extraordinary place full of beauty, history, architectural character, and neighbors who care about each other. That's Manteo. But places like Manteo don't just happen. It takes a community vision, it takes great leadership past and present, and it takes determination to create a town like ours and keep it strong. So as a commissioner, one of my goals would be to make sure that our small town charm, our history, and our character persist, and that we don't become another cookie cutter coastal town like so many others. We need to keep the right scale of buildings, not too tall, not too big, and we need to keep our night sky ordinance so we can treasure the natural beauty that surrounds us. It is important that we continue our vision and keep doing great town planning and great decision-making to keep us on track so we can always enjoy the magic that has been saved here. But we can't stop there. We also need to keep getting smarter as we seek innovations that will help our town. Innovations that help us manage stormwater like we've talked about tonight and protect our natural resources. Innovations simple like installing electric vehicle powering stations for the wave of electric cars that's coming. And innovations like the Main Street America program that will help keep our town prosperous and our businesses thriving and vital. So in closing, I would like to ask to be your commissioner. I bring a deep, deep love for Manteo. I bring past experiences in working in local government and a willingness to roll up my sleeves and work hard and learn deeply about issues that impact us all. And I respectfully ask for your vote on November 2nd.
Thank you very much. Next, we will hear from Eddie Mann.
Thank you. I'd like to start by thanking the League of Women Voters for putting this event on. I know it's a different circumstance, but I appreciate the opportunity to talk to people and field questions. You know, I feel the past 4 years I've worked hard. I've dedicated my life to public service. And I'd like to continue doing that for the citizens of Manteo. I think we've accomplished a good bit, and I think there's so much more we can accomplish. We live in a great area that has endless possibility that we can keep improving on year after year. So I look forward to continue serving you. I hope you vote for me, but most of all, I hope you go out November 2nd and vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Christine Walker.
I'd just like to say that Manteo cannot lose. I mean, we cannot lose with this group of people. You know, the elected officials, the citizens that we have, the town staff. I mean, it's the greatest. It really is. You know, it's like a big family. You know, I've never met you, Ruth, and you know, you would be great as a commissioner. You know, I've always said that, you know, I wouldn't run if I thought there was somebody else that could do as great a job as me. And I feel like you're that person. So, you know, if you're that, if you're the lucky person who's going to give all the time that it takes, you know, I wish you the best. I really do. You know, there's nothing more I can say. You know, we all have Manteo and what's best for her in mind. And, you know, preserve and prosper is the town motto. And, you know, that's all I'm trying to do. You know, I'm a small town gal. I got small town ideas. You know, I make decisions on what I know, what I don't know. You know, I've always said that. Don't know what I don't know. So, you know, I just like to thank everybody for being here. It's such a commitment of time. It really is. You know, I don't know why anybody would want to do it, but, you know, I'd love to keep doing it. I'd love to serve out another year, another term. So, and I just want to thank the League of Women Voters. This is just awesome. You know, how they've managed to put this together. I just really appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody for being here. Everybody that's listening in, you know, please go vote November 2nd. We appreciate you know, what everyone has to say. We couldn't do it without y'all.
Thank you very much. Lastly, we will hear from Bobby Owens.
Well, they say silence is golden, so I haven't said anything tonight, so I feel pretty good that I won't be in trouble. You know, folks, Manteo is a jewel. It just needs more polish and maybe repolishing. But we've got a good thing going here in Manteo. Manteo, I think, contrary to what other people said, has got a wonderful future. You hear, let's burn the bridges. Let's don't let any more tourists in here. Well, how do we eat? Where do we get our money from? One reason, blue water and golden sand. That's why they come. They don't come because they hear of Manteo and, oh, I'm gonna move there. They get to Manteo, they just love what they see. And that's wonderful too. Let me say a few things. I've talked about the wastewater treatment plant. The funding for that would not come from the town. It would not come from our resources. We could have grants that's readily available. We're getting one right now for $1.2 million for a wastewater reservoir system. We could easily get a grant for 90% of the funding, 90%. We've got a system that's 90 years old almost, because I was there. And it just, some of it's been updated through Christine and her past maneuvers. They updated the system pretty seriously. But we still have some old lines and they need to be corrected. And we're the end of Eastern North Carolina. I worked for Governor Jim Hunt for 4 years as his liaison for Eastern North Carolina. Every time I used to go in Windsor, Eden, Coleraine, Plymouth, you can go on and name them all. You know what? They're all boarded up. Go over and look for yourself. Don't listen to me. Why are they boarded? You've got to have aggressiveness, control growth. You don't want runaway growth, you want control, and we can do it. And I see the sign that says stop, so I'm stopping.
Well, Bobby, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. This concludes the Town of Manteo's Municipal Candidate Forum. We wish to thank the candidates for their participation, the voters for their attendance, and for their submitted questions. We want to thank the technical team again for setting up and managing this webinar. We will post the video of this forum on our website, www.lwbdarenc.org, as well as on our YouTube page. All contested candidates this evening have participated in the League's online voter guide, vote411.org. We encourage you to look at this one-stop shop website that voters may access on their phone or on their PC. Simply key in your address and you can view the candidate information, their philosophy statement, social media links, and their responses in their own words to questions we posed and more. Please check it out. Vote 411 is live as of today. I will now return the program to Marian Midget.
Thank you, everyone. I'm in that black box up there. My loss of internet made me lose light as well. Thank you, everyone. Remember, I have a few things to say in closing, and you'll see some slides. The last day to register to vote by submitting a registration form is Friday, October 8th, 2021 at 5 p.m. That's tomorrow. You may go to the Dare County Board of Election form. You may also register to vote during early one-stop voting, which begins on Thursday, October 14th and runs through the 30th of the month in 2 locations. Early voting in 2 locations, the Dare County Administrative Building in Manteo or the Kill Devil Hills Town Hall in Kill Devil Hills. Weekdays, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 1 Saturday, October 30th, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And Manteo folks, you can vote early at the administration building here in Manteo, or if you happen to be over in Kill Devil Hills, you can vote there too, only during early voting. You may also register through the Department of Motor Vehicles if you have a North Carolina driver's license or an ID card. If you wish to vote by mail, any registered North Carolina voter may request an absentee ballot by mail. No excuse is needed to vote by absentee. To request an absentee ballot be sent to you, complete and return the North Carolina absentee ballot request form found on the Dare County Board of Elections website. You may also call Dare Board of Elections and an absentee ballot request form will be sent to you. Of course, Election Day is Tuesday, November 2nd. If you plan to vote on Election Day, your polling place is Dare County Administration Building, 954 Marshall C. Collins Drive, Manteo, the same as the early voting site. We encourage you to join us as we strive to make democracy work. Thank you again, everyone, for participating this evening. Thank you so much.